Today's AI Roundup is chocked full of AI gaffes. Microsoft's AI is getting hungry, suggesting a food bank as Canada's top tourist hotspot. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, AI bus routes, or lack thereof, have students asking, "Dude, where's our bus?" And Google thinks Kenya is just a figment of your imagination thanks to a dirty internet joke. And finally, we're getting legal answers to the crucial question: who owns the copyright to that mesmerizing AI-generated art? What up, everybody? Phil Buck here, back again for another episode of AI Roundup. Before we jump into our stories, first up, some other things happening on the MSP Media Network. Later today at 7 p.m. Eastern, Wins and Losses will be back with Ray Orsini and Jason Slagle for episode 6. And on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, the Tech Bar returns with special guest Kelvin Tegelar. I'm so sorry, Kelvin. I know everybody says they butcher your name. I don't think I've got it quite yet either, but I'm trying. And of course, one more, a very special one. The debut of our latest show is coming on Friday. That's August 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Bits and Books, episode 1. It's our book club headed up by Marnie Stockman, and we'll be discussing the business fable Getting Naked. All right, apologies in advance. I'm going to try not to laugh too much during this actual impact segment of the show, but it's going to be tough because first up, Microsoft AI suggests Food Bank is a cannot miss tourist spot in Canada. From ArsTechnica.com by Benj Edwards. MSN.com's Microsoft Travel section published an AI-generated article listing the cannot miss attractions in Ottawa. The article erroneously included the Ottawa Food Bank, a charity for struggling families, suggesting visitors consider going in on an empty stomach. This content is believed to be the product of a large language model similar to GPT-3 and GPT-4. Since partnering with OpenAI, Microsoft has been incorporating AI-generated content into its platforms. Critics, noting the lack of overt indication that the content is AI-generated, have raised concerns about Microsoft's adherence to its own responsible AI principles. So we're going to be seeing a lot of this particular problem on today's show, where we don't actually know if AI is the problem, but it's very symptomatic of that. And unfortunately, this one definitely has all the telltale signs. Now, that being the case, if critics can't confirm it, then we can maybe chalk it up to someone with really bad taste. And speaking of an AI scapegoat, another story about a Kentucky school bus debacle. Is AI to blame, or is it human oversight? This is touching on a couple of stories from NBC News and WHAS 11, a local Louisville, Kentucky ABC affiliate. Jefferson County Public Schools faced severe backlash following bus delays on the opening day of school, initially attributing the chaos to AI-optimized bus routes. However, consulting company Alpha Route, employed by JCPS, clarified that AI was not used in the route optimization. The real culprits behind the delays were the addition of 5,000 bus stops by JCPS without modifying stop times, and a significant drop in available bus drivers, from 950 to under 600 in recent years. Consequently, JCPS had to postpone school for several days to address the issue. Now, I wanted to hit this because, like I said, there's a bunch of AI gaffes in today's show, and it's a little bit funny when you see the headline, but it's a little more troubling actually when you read into the story and you find out, hey, this headline is totally attributing this problem to AI, and that's not possibly the case once again. This company Alpha Route, if you dig in about them a little bit, it does seem like AI is part of their offerings, but they pushed back and said no, they didn't use AI in this situation, and it was just a logistical error. I think it's something that we really need to keep an eye on, because I think there's plenty for AI to be at fault for, but it's also a little bit weird when humans are going to make mistakes and throw AI under the bus as their, excuse. And speaking of AI at fault, on a story from itpro.com by Rory Bathgate, AI will kill Google search if we aren't careful. Search results from Google provided incorrect information indicating that there is no African country that starts with a letter K, despite Kenya's existence. This mistake appears to have been sourced from AI news and raw ChatGPT outputs. And now, digging in a little deeper, I had a really hard time confirming this, but I saw a tweet about this particular issue going on, and I tried it myself. I actually went straight to Google and I tried to search African country that starts with K. And yes, the first result that comes up is no, there is not a African country that starts with K. And digging a little deeper again, I found this tweet from Rod Hilton that says, this is because ChatGPT at some point ingested this popular joke. There are no countries in Africa that start with K. What about Kenya? And forgive me for the crudeness here, but I'm excited to give you the punchline. Kenya suck D's nuts. Google search is over. Now, again, I did try to confirm that particular theory about why this is happening with ChatGPT, and I was not able to, regardless of the fact of if that aspect of it is true or not. It's super funny, and it's really crazy to see that Google search results are totally overshadowed by this ChatGPT generated response. I really don't know what to think, but again, it's looking more and more like the truth behind a dead internet. You know, if they don't figure out how to get a handle on some of this stuff, it's likely to come true. Okay, we have a huge can of worms to open up for the big picture today, but first up, OpenAI faces challenges as ChatGPT struggles with finances and reliability. It's a couple of stories from Fortune and Windows Central. OpenAI's flagship product, ChatGPT, is reportedly heading towards bankruptcy, facing a shortage of essential chips and diminishing investor confidence, with the company experiencing a $540 million loss since the chatbot's launch. Contributing factors include high operational costs at roughly $700,000 daily and a 12% drop in user engagement. OpenAI's goals diverge from those of prominent figure Sam Altman, with the former aiming for profitability and the latter focusing on achieving AGI superintelligence. Simultaneously, ChatGPT and other AI chatbots are facing scrutiny for hallucination, the propensity to produce false or made-up information. Despite these systems' capabilities, experts argue that the inherent nature of these chatbots is to predict and produce content, leading to inherent inaccuracies. As the technology continues to evolve, the challenge remains balancing creativity and accuracy and discerning how best to utilize these AI tools in various sectors. Now, I think OpenAI is the face for most of these LLMs. It's obviously the most popular one, and maybe that's why it's getting beat up so bad. I don't really know the financial states of, Eleuther AI or some of these other ones that are out there, but it does seem like it's a really steep hill to climb. I mean, obviously the initial creation of these models is wildly expensive, but we've seen across the history of the last year or so that even people at home are able to reproduce these results now that this giant mountain has been climbed. So, maybe even if OpenAI can't make financial solvency out of this situation, I don't think that means that LLMs are going to disappear. In fact, I think it's just going to further have to force them to define how they fit into society. And speaking of which, we finally are getting some rulings from the courts on what you can do with AI art. From Hollywood Reporter by Winston Cho, AI created art isn't copyrightable, judge says in ruling that could give Hollywood studios pause. The U.S. Copyright Office and a federal judge have upheld that copyrights can only be granted to works created by humans, not those generated by AI. The decision came in response to Stephen Thaler's challenge, the CEO of Imagination Engines, who argued that AI-generated content should be protected under copyright, with ownership vesting in the machine's owner. U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell emphasized that human authorship is a bedrock requirement, and copyright law has consistently been understood to protect only works of human creation. While works aided by AI can be copyrighted if a human has sufficiently contributed, purely AI-generated works do not qualify. Okay, so we've been waiting for something to come down. There's tons of pending cases, many of which I'm much more excited to hear the outcome. But hey, this is something, right? I think this is a move in the right direction. I hate the idea that someone could just sit around and let an AI generate untold amounts of art and then copyright it. I mean, this is kind of like, domain name farming or something where you can just have a bot buy up every domain name possible. And then, if you need that domain name sometime in the future, well, too bad. They've already gotten it. I mean, that's actually, that metaphor kind of pales in comparison to many other things that I think have happened with automation. And I just am very happy to see checks on this stuff coming out. I'm also excited to see that there is the caveat that if a human has sufficiently contributed, that AI work can be used in your workflow. That's something I've kind of advocated for the entire time on this show. Now, I will reference the last episode of MSP Dispatch that came out yesterday. They also cover this story. I think that they had a really interesting take on it, which is pretty different than what I covered here. So make sure you go check out that episode as well. And in our last story for the big picture, along the same lines here, artists complain of AI copyright infringement on Adobe Stock. From creativeblock.com by Daniel Piper. Adobe's Firefly AI model, which the company claims is trained only on Adobe Stock and commercially licensed imagery, is getting called out for plagiarism. Several artists have noticed AI-generated images appearing in Adobe Stock when their names are used as prompts, with some of the art seemingly mimicking their unique styles. This has led to accusations of copyright infringement. The issue gained traction after artist Kelly McKernan tweeted about it, although Adobe responded saying such content goes against their AI policy and the images were removed. Concerns remain about the ethical use of AI in art creation. Well, yeah, no duh. I mean, obviously there's a huge concern. I mean, Adobe is one of the first ones that's trying to push the idea of an ethical AI art generating model. And I think that is exciting, but this really pulls their legs out from under them. I mean, if they are stating that is the case, and then artists are finding this evidence that they are plagiarizing, I think in some ways you can chalk it up to, I bet a whole lot of this stuff was done by automation. I bet a whole lot of scraping was going on beyond what their intentions were, but that's a problem. That's a huge problem. On top of that, they're getting called out for it, which I think that's great. I mean, mainly because we get a chance to see their response, which in this case, it still leaves a lot to be desired, because if it keeps happening, it's bad. It's really bad. But the fact that they took the artist's concerns to heart, they went and looked and said, yep, these violate our AI policies, and then removed the images, at least it shows some good faith is left. And I hope that there is at least one company we can look to do this responsibly. I don't know if Midjourney or any of the other ones are going to be falling in that same category, but speaking of Midjourney, I think it's time for us to take a full journey. Okay, so this is pretty exciting. This is something I discovered last week. I just stumbled upon it thanks to a friend on my Facebook feed. Shout out Brian Allman, who has been posting videos from Fulljourney.ai, a text-to-video model. The main meat and potatoes of this story is that you'll need to join the Fulljourney Discord to get a taste of this use case. But I found a summary on Medium by Arrow Skylar. It gives us a good idea of what to expect. Zeroscope V3 is an innovative, open-source, text-to-video AI model. This advanced AI tool, considered a rival to Runway ML's Gen 2, can convert textual descriptions into high-quality videos. It's pretty generous there with the high-quality adjective. The AI Discord server named Fulljourney offers exclusive access to test the Zeroscape V3 model. Users can generate short clips, some accompanied by AI-generated sound. The model comes in 2 versions catering to different resolution needs, plus it offers the option to make movies where 4 different AI-generated video clips will be strung together in a series of scenes with background music. So, you know me, I had to, of course, go try this out. Some prompts that I input just to test the results and kind of keep it on theme were a news anchor reporting the latest terrifying stories about artificial intelligence. Let's see, this one, maybe a little more of a pipe dream. A robot hosting a late night talk show. And finally, I was trying to mimic the style of what you see on the show here. A news anchor reporting about the dystopian future from a psychedelic chamber. All right, so this is pretty cool. I think for me, the most novel thing about this is seeing kind of the latest iteration of what I think we reported on in the past. It was called Modal Scope. You could tell that the training for that model was pretty meager. In fact, so much of the videos that would come out of it would have a Shutterstock logo on top because everything seemed like they had scraped, the free listings of Shutterstock's video footage. And this is honestly, it's not impressive by itself, but if you look at the progress that they've made with this text to video, that is pretty impressive. Now, I am glad that the summary that I read mentioned Runway ML's Gen 2, because I feel like what I've seen coming from Gen 2 paired up with stuff like Midjourney generated images, they're feeding the Midjourney image into Gen 2 and getting some really exciting stuff. I don't know if y'all have checked out the podcast Dudesy with Will Sasso and Chad Kultgen. They have been on this AI thing for a while. In fact, the premise of this show is that Dudesy is an AI that kind of runs the show. But on the latest episode, episode 69, if you check it out, they, I think, as far as I can tell, have a little compilation that, with the narration, it was just amazing. For me, it does look like a mix of Midjourney, Runway ML's Gen 2, and really just some really clever writing and voiceovers. I personally, I feel like because the technology is really just not that good, this is what gets me excited to see the ingenuity of the users that are able to put stuff like this together. Because yeah, if you watch any of those clips on that doozy episode that I referenced by themselves, yeah, it's weird. It's not impressive. It's not anything that's gonna, generate a response from most viewers. But I think when you see it all strung together with a clever person's writing behind it and voiceover on top, it's pretty striking stuff. So imagine how good some of this stuff can be in the years to come. All right, everybody, that is our AI roundup for today. Be sure to join the MSP Media Network Discord. Sound off if you've tried out Fulljourney. I'd love to see some of what you're making. As always, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email us news@mspmedia.tv or leave us a voicemail 833-MSP-Network. All right, y'all, I'm Phil Buck, and this has been your August 23rd episode of AI Roundup, and I'll see you next time.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.